I've given you everything, Vanessa, but devotion doesn't create empires. I need a son. I want us to see other people. 12 hours after Marcus Chen spoke those words, his girlfriend wasn't just moving into their home. She was claiming Vanessa's closet, her bathroom, her life. But Marcus made one fatal miscalculation. The woman he threw away wasn't defeated. She was about to become the most lethal player in a game he didn't even know had started. Because the night Vanessa walked out of that humiliating fundraiser, she didn't collapse in tears. She stumbled into an underground lounge and crashed straight into Dominic Kane, the man whose name makes corporate lawyers break into cold sweats. He didn't offer pity. He offered her a diamond ring and a deal. Play my fiancé. Help me legitimize my holdings. Let's obliterate him together. Vanessa thought she was signing up for simple payback. She had no clue she was entering a deadly chess match where every move concealed a trap, and the man promising salvation was hiding the most explosive secret of them all. Welcome back to Ruthless Romance Tales. What you're about to experience isn't just another cheating spouse story. This is psychological warfare with 7 reveals that will knock the breath from your lungs exactly when you think you've figured it out. Zero violence, pure suspense so intense you'll hold your breath without realizing it. If you crave stories where everyone's playing a hidden game and reality keeps shifting beneath your feet, hit that like button, subscribe, and get comfortable. Because when this ends, you'll question everything you believed about marriage, manipulation, and revenge. Vanessa Torres knew her marriage was dead the moment Marcus answered his phone during her question. They sat in their Chelsea loft, the kind of apartment that screamed achievement with floor-to-ceiling windows framing the Hudson River, visual proof they'd succeeded. 8 years married. 4 years trapped in fertility treatment hell. 4 years of injections, medications, and hope that slowly curdled into something toxic. And now this conversation. Vanessa's fingertips traced the purple-green bruises scattered across her lower belly. Each mark a tiny betrayal her body had survived chasing a dream. The injection site still ached from this morning's treatment, cycle 19 in 4 years. She sat at their dining table, marble cool against her arms, watching the city shimmer through those massive windows. New York stretched below like a kingdom she'd helped construct but would never rule. Marcus was late. Again. When he finally entered, he didn't acknowledge his tardiness. Just loosened his collar, poured wine, and slid a second glass toward her across the marble. The scrape of crystal on stone was her only greeting. We need to discuss something important. His voice carried that conference room authority she'd once found magnetic. Now it just sounded empty. Vanessa's stomach clenched, unrelated to the hormones flooding her bloodstream. She wrapped her fingers around the wine stem, her deep bronze skin contrasting sharply against the delicate glass, and waited. 8 years of marriage had taught her that Marcus's pauses were never innocent. They were cocked weapons. I've been reconsidering our circumstances. He sat opposite her, but the space between them felt vast, thinking about the Chen family future. There it was, family future, not our relationship, not us, family future. The treatment didn't work again. Vanessa's voice emerged quiet but steady despite her racing pulse. Dr. Morrison said we could keep trying. No. Marcus dismissed her with the casual cruelty of someone brushing away an insect. 4 years, Vanessa. 19 cycles. My father asks me weekly when I'm giving him grandchildren. I'm 36 years old. I can't keep waiting. The accusation hung between them like smoke, unspoken but choking. The specialist said we both had normal results, Vanessa responded, though her voice had softened, almost pleading. She despised how it sounded. It's just unfortunate timing. Some couples need 5 or 6 years before success. 4 years isn't unfortunate timing. Marcus's eyes were flat, dead. It's a clear signal. And I've decided to accept it. Vanessa's heart began a slow, terrible fall. What are you saying? He took a long drink and she watched his throat work. When he lowered the glass, his expression matched the cold marble. I want an open relationship. The words struck like a physical blow. For several seconds, Vanessa couldn't breathe, couldn't process. The loft with its gallery-quality furniture and artwork that cost more than most people's cars suddenly felt like a tomb. You want what? An open relationship. We maintain our public marriage, keep up appearances, but I pursue other options, specifically women who can provide what you cannot. Vanessa's vision blurred at the edges. She pressed her palms against the table to stop trembling. You want to sleep with other women, impregnate them while we're still married. I need an heir, Vanessa. He said it like discussing a business merger. If you're incapable of providing one, someone else will. But I don't want to dismantle what we've created together. This arrangement benefits us both. The audacity stole her voice. I built your business, she said, her voice rising now sharp and jagged. When your accounts were hemorrhaging cash, I fixed everything. I completely restructured your financial architecture. I abandoned my career, my friends, my entire life in Boston to follow you here. You fixed the finances, Vanessa. Marcus's tone remained unchanged. Not the bloodline. There's a distinction. I need a legacy. You can't deliver that. The cruelty was surgical, targeted. He'd identified the deepest wound and driven his thumb straight into it. Vanessa's breathing came shallow, broken. This is insane. You can't just decide she's arriving tomorrow. The world froze. Vanessa stared at him, her brain struggling to parse the words. Excuse me. Marcus checked his watch like this conversation was simply another meeting running long. Her name is Mei Lin. She's already carrying my child. I'm not requesting permission, Vanessa. I'm informing you of the new reality. Your only decision is whether you're staying or going. Vanessa's hands shook against the marble. Her throat burned. She wanted to scream, to overturn the table, to destroy every pristine surface in this soulless apartment. Instead, she sat paralyzed, her mind replaying 8 years of sacrifices, of injections, of her body failing month after agonizing month. And now this. Marcus stood, adjusting his jacket like he'd just sealed a contract. Sleep on it. But Vanessa, he paused in the doorway, his silhouette backlit by the hallway. I'm proceeding regardless of your answer. The only choice is whether you'll be here to witness it. Then he vanished, his footsteps echoing toward the guest room he'd claimed months earlier. Vanessa sat alone in darkness, wine untouched, body aching, world disintegrating. Marcus forced her to attend the fundraiser, not as his wife, as his decoration. We need to project stability, he'd said that morning, voice devoid of warmth. People are questioning things. You'll attend, you'll smile, you'll make this seamless. It wasn't negotiable. It was an order wrapped in expensive cologne and arrogance. So Vanessa dressed. She selected a champagne silk gown that accentuated her figure, her rich bronze skin luminous against the delicate fabric. She applied makeup with barely trembling hands, painted her lips deep wine, and convinced herself she could endure one night. Just one night of pretending her existence wasn't imploding. The car ride to the museum was silent. Marcus sat across from her, scrolling his phone, jaw clenched. Vanessa watched city lights blur past and wondered when she'd become invisible in her own marriage. They arrived separately to the entrance. Optics, Marcus had explained. Vanessa emerged from the car into an explosion of camera flashes that made her eyes water. She smiled, waved, and walked the gauntlet alone while reporters shouted questions lost beneath the roar of blood in her ears. Then Marcus arrived, but not alone. The woman who exited his car wore gold, liquid, shimmering gold clinging to a body unmistakably, visibly pregnant. Her hand rested on her swollen belly like a crown. When Marcus placed his hand on her lower back, the cameras erupted. Vanessa's smile froze, her chest constricted. She stood drowning in champagne silk and humiliation as Marcus guided Mei Lin down the carpet like she was made of porcelain. He introduced her to investors, board members, the governor. Every single time he said the same thing. This is Mei Lin, mother of the Chen legacy, not his associate, not a colleague, mother of his legacy. Vanessa was shoved to the margins, a discarded ornament nobody knew how to handle. She gripped her clutch so hard her knuckles throbbed, nails digging into beaded fabric. She tried to breathe, tried to maintain composure, but the walls were collapsing. Then she heard it. Marcus's father standing near the champagne fountain, speaking rapid Mandarin to a cluster of older men. Vanessa's Mandarin was better than they realized. She caught every poisonous word. The barren one who won't leave. She attaches herself to my son like a leech. At least this one understands her purpose. The laughter that followed was refined, cultured, and lethal. Something inside Vanessa fractured, not dramatically, just a quiet final break that severed the last thread holding her intact. She turned and walked, not toward Marcus, not toward the exits, just away. Her heels clicked on marble, then pavement. Then she was outside and the sky was opening. Rain poured in sheets, drenching her gown within seconds, turning the silk heavy and cold. She didn't care. She kicked off her heels, left them on the sidewalk, and stumbled forward through puddles that splashed her calves. Manhattan blurred around her. Car horns, neon, the smell of wet concrete and street cart smoke. She didn't know her destination until she saw it. A heavy black door set in brick, unmarked except for a small brass plate reading the onyx room. Vanessa pushed inside, desperate for shelter, for darkness, for anything but the suffocating spectacle she'd fled. Warmth hit her first, then low jazz, then the weight of eyes turning toward her. A soaked woman in a destroyed gown, water streaming from her hair, pooling at her bare feet. She took 2 steps forward, blinded by tears and rain, and collided hard with something solid, a chest broad and unyielding. Hands gripped her arms, steadying her before she fell. Strong hands, controlled hands. Vanessa looked up, blinking through water on her lashes, and froze. The man holding her was devastating. Sharp cheekbones, a jawline that could cut diamonds, dark eyes that held the kind of danger people cross streets to avoid. His suit was immaculate, charcoal with a black shirt unbuttoned at the collar, and he didn't flinch as water from her gown soaked into the fabric. Behind him, the bartender's face had gone white, his hands frozen mid-pour. The man studied her with intensity that made her skin prickle. His gaze traveled across her face, her soaked hair, her trembling form. When he spoke, his voice was low, smooth, laced with something dark. "You're Vanessa Torres." It wasn't a question. Vanessa's breath caught. "How do you know who I am?" He released her arms, but his hand found her lower back, guiding her through the dim speakeasy toward a private booth in back. The leather was burgundy, worn soft with time. A single amber light hung overhead, casting shadows that made the space feel confessional. He gestured for her to sit, then slid into the booth across from her. A gun rested on the table between them, casual as a phone. He didn't acknowledge it. Neither did she. A bartender materialized with 2 glasses of whiskey, set them down silently, and disappeared. 4 years ago, the man said, his dark eyes never leaving hers, my shipping operation was drowning in red ink. Import delays, customs disasters, bleeding money in ways I couldn't trace. He lifted his glass, swirled the amber liquid. Then someone completely restructured the logistics chain, rerouted everything, cleaned the accounts, saved me $12 million. Vanessa's mind raced backward. The consulting project, the nightmare spreadsheets, Marcus's friend who needed emergency help. That was you, Dominic Kane. He didn't extend his hand, didn't smile, just watched her with predatory patience. And you, Vanessa Torres, are the most brilliant financial mind I've ever encountered. Which is why I know you didn't stumble into my establishment by accident tonight. I didn't know this was yours, ran from the fundraiser. His voice dropped lower, intimate, and dangerous. From Marcus Chen and his pregnant girlfriend. From the father-in-law who called you Baron in Mandarin you weren't supposed to understand. Vanessa's chest tightened. You were there. I'm always there. He took a slow sip of whiskey. Marcus owes my organization significant money. I make it my business to know everything about my debtors, including their wives. The word wives landed like a knife between her ribs. Dominic leaned forward, elbows on the table, close enough that she could smell cedar and smoke. I have a problem, Vanessa, and I believe you're the solution. I'm not interested in 72 hours from now. I closed the largest commercial real estate deal in Manhattan history. 40 buildings. Legitimate holdings that will secure my family's future for generations. His jaw tightened. But the board sees me as a criminal, a thug playing dress-up. They want assurance I'm building something respectable, not a money laundering operation. Vanessa's analytical mind engaged despite herself. They want a wife. They want proof I'm civilized. His lips curved, but it wasn't a smile. It was something colder. A brilliant, respectable woman beside me, someone educated, someone who commands rooms, someone exactly like you. You want me to pretend to be your fiancé? I want you to be my weapon. Dominic's eyes glittered in the low light. Marcus destroyed you tonight, made you invisible, disposable. I can make you unforgettable, untouchable. He paused, letting the words settle. And I can make him regret every moment he underestimated you. Vanessa's pulse hammered. Why would you help me? Because I need you for 72 hours to close my deal. And you need me to burn Marcus's empire to ashes. He tilted his head. Besides, your husband owes me money. When he sees you with me, he'll understand exactly how much danger he's in. That kind of terror is invaluable. It was transactional, cold, perfectly calculated. Yet something in his gaze held a flicker of something else. Respect. Recognition. What do you gain from this? Vanessa asked, her voice steadier. A queen on my chessboard. Dominic reached into his jacket and extracted a small velvet box. He opened it, revealing a ring that stole her breath. Platinum with a black diamond surrounded by smaller white stones. It looked like a crown, like a weapon. Wear this. Stand beside me at the signing. Let Marcus see you transformed. Let him watch while I give you everything he stole. After the deal closes, we negotiate what happens next. His voice dropped to near whisper. But I promise you this, Vanessa. By next week, Marcus Chen will be on his knees begging your forgiveness, and you'll have the power to decide if he deserves it. He slid the ring across the table. It caught the light, glittering like a dark promise. Vanessa stared at him at the gun still resting between them like a third party to this devil's bargain. She thought of Marcus's cold dismissal, of Mei Lin's hand on her pregnant belly, of the years she'd spent making herself smaller, quieter, less. Vanessa picked up the ring. The weight was substantial, real. She met Dominic's eyes. Do we have a deal? His smile was slow, dangerous, absolutely lethal. We have a war. The boutique was closed when they arrived, but the door opened anyway. Dominic's world operated on different rules. Inside, crystal chandeliers cast warm light over racks of clothing that looked more like art than fabric. A woman with silver hair and sharp eyes appeared, assessing Vanessa with a glance that felt both clinical and approving. Everything, Dominic said simply. She needs armor. Vanessa stood in the center of the room, still wearing her ruined fundraiser gown, now dry and stiff with rainwater. She felt exposed, hollow. Dominic circled her slowly, his footsteps silent on marble. When he stopped in front of her, his dark eyes held something between assessment and promise. You've been dressing like a wife, he said, voice low and deliberate. Neutral, modest, invisible. Marcus trained you to disappear. He reached out, lifted a strand of her damp hair between his fingers, then released it. Stop dressing like a wife, Vanessa. Dress like a widow. The word sent electricity down her spine. For the next hour, Vanessa became someone else. The silver-haired woman brought pieces that felt like weapons. A deep burgundy suit with sharp shoulders that made her look taller, more dangerous. A black silk blouse that draped against her bronze skin like liquid shadow. Heels that added 3 inches and transformed her walk into a statement. When Vanessa finally looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. Her natural curls were styled into sleek waves framing her face. Her makeup was bolder, deep plum lips, gold on her lids that made her dark eyes luminous. She looked like money, like power, like someone who could destroy you with a glance. Dominic stood behind her, his reflection meeting hers in the glass. For a long moment, neither spoke. Perfect, he murmured. And the word felt like a caress. The business luncheon was at the River Club, the kind of place where Manhattan's elite made deals over oysters and aged scotch. Vanessa's heart hammered as they approached the entrance, her hand resting lightly on Dominic's arm. He wore a charcoal suit that fit like sin, and together they looked like something from a dangerous dream. The moment they entered, conversation stopped. Every head turned. Vanessa felt the weight of 100 stares, felt the ripple of shock move through the room like a shockwave. The discarded wife. The barren failure. Walking in on the arm of Dominic Kane, the man whose name people whispered in back rooms and feared in daylight. Then she saw Marcus. He was seated at a table near the windows, mid-conversation with David Rothstein, the hedge fund manager who'd invested $25 million in Marcus's company. When Marcus looked up and saw her, his face went white, then red, then something close to murderous. He stood so fast his chair scraped the floor. Dominic's hand found Vanessa's lower back, a touch both possessive and protective. He guided her forward, moving through the room with the confidence of someone who owned it. When Marcus started toward them, Dominic stopped, adjusted his cufflinks with deliberate slowness and met Marcus's eyes. Marcus froze mid-step. It wasn't words, wasn't a threat, just a look, but Marcus understood perfectly. He stood there, fists clenched, jaw tight, as Dominic led Vanessa past him like he was furniture. They stopped at Rothstein's table. The older man stood, eyebrows raised, clearly intrigued. David, Dominic said smoothly, I'd like you to meet my fiancée, Vanessa Torres. Rothstein's eyes widened. Vanessa Torres, Marcus's former wife. Rebecca said, her voice steady and warm. She extended her hand and Rothstein shook it, still processing. It's wonderful to see you again, David. I was just telling Dominic about your portfolio diversification strategy. Brilliant work. Rothstein beamed. You remember that conversation? Of course. You mentioned considering expansion into Marcus's biotech sector. Vanessa tilted her head, her smile never wavering. Though I'd be cautious with Q4. His burn rate is unsustainable, and the clinical trials are 7 months behind schedule. The SEC filing shows cash reserves depleting faster than projected revenue. Rothstein's expression shifted. I wasn't aware of the trial delays. Most people aren't. Vanessa's voice was light, conversational. Marcus excels at optics, less so at execution. Behind them, Vanessa heard Marcus's sharp intake of breath. Rothstein pulled out his phone, fingers moving rapidly. His face darkened as he read. "Excuse me," he said tightly, already walking away. Dominic leaned close to Vanessa's ear, his breath warm against her skin. Devastating. Vanessa turned her head slightly, her lips almost brushing his jaw. That was just the warning shot. Across the room, Marcus stood frozen, watching his biggest investor walk out the door. His phone buzzed once, twice, then continuously. Vanessa knew what he was seeing. His stock price dropping in real time. His carefully constructed empire beginning to crumble. And she smiled. Living with Dominic was like inhabiting an elegant trap. His penthouse overlooked the city from 45 floors up. All glass and dark wood and silence so thick it felt like held breath. They maintained separate bedrooms, separate spaces, but the air between them grew heavier each day. Charged, dangerous. 4 days after the luncheon, Vanessa sat at his dining table reviewing documents for the real estate closing. Numbers blurred across pages as she cross-referenced contracts, her mind sharp and focused. Dominic stood by the windows, phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid Mandarin that she'd begun understanding more than she revealed. Then the room tilted. Vanessa's vision swam. The paper slipped from her hands. She tried to stand, tried to call out, but her legs buckled and the world went dark. She woke to arms around her. Strong, steady, Dominic had caught her before she hit the floor. Now he held her against his chest, his heart thundering beneath her ear. His voice was sharp, urgent, speaking to someone she couldn't see. "Get Dr. Harrison here immediately." "I'm fine," Vanessa whispered, but the words felt weak. "You're not." His jaw was tight, his usual composure fractured. "You're not fine." Dr. Harrison arrived within 20 minutes. A gray-haired woman with surgeon's hands and a gaze that missed nothing. She examined Vanessa in the guest room, while Dominic paced outside like a caged animal. She could hear his footsteps, the barely controlled energy radiating through the walls. The doctor asked questions about her diet, her habits, the fertility treatments. Then she drew blood, and the silence while they waited for results felt suffocating. When Dr. Harrison emerged, her expression was grim. Dominic was beside her instantly. "What's wrong with her? May I?" Dr. Harrison gestured to the tea service on the kitchen counter. The delicate porcelain Vanessa had been drinking from that morning. She lifted the pot, sniffed, then set it down carefully. Where did this come from? Vanessa's throat tightened. "It's fertility tea. My father-in-law sent it to me for 4 years. He said it would help me conceive." The doctor's face darkened. "Miss Torres, this tea contains dong quai and pennyroyal in concentrations that would prevent conception, not encourage it. Combined with the synthetic compounds I found in your blood work, someone has been systematically poisoning you." The words hit like a physical blow. Vanessa's hands started shaking. "Poisoning," she repeated, her voice hollow. The herbs alone would disrupt ovulation. But the synthetic compounds, Dr. Harrison pulled out her tablet, showed her chemical formulas she didn't understand. "These aren't natural. They're designed to mimic hormonal imbalances, to weaken uterine lining." Whoever formulated this knew exactly what they were doing. Vanessa thought of the packages that arrived like clockwork, the elegant handwriting, the note that always said the same thing: "For the grandchildren I pray for." Marcus's father had been poisoning her for 4 years. "He watched me inject myself with hormones," Vanessa whispered. "Watched me cry every month when the treatments failed." He knew. He knew the entire time. Dominic had gone perfectly still, that terrifying stillness that preceded storms. "They didn't just break your heart," he said, his voice low and lethal. "They violated your body systematically for years." Vanessa looked up at him, saw fury burning behind his eyes, saw something else too, something protective and possessive and devastating. "The damage," she managed. "Is it permanent?" Dr. Harrison shook her head. "The compounds will flush out over time. 6 months, perhaps 8. Your body will heal." She paused. "But Miss Torres, you were never infertile. You were sabotaged." The room spun again, but this time Vanessa was standing. 4 years. 4 years of believing her body was broken. 4 years of guilt and shame and needles and failure. All of it manufactured. All of it lies. Dominic moved to the bar cart, poured himself whiskey. His hand trembled just barely, but Vanessa saw it. He lifted the glass, stared at it for a long moment, then hurled it against the wall. Crystal exploded, amber liquid streaming down white paint like blood. I'm going to destroy them. His voice was quiet, controlled, which made it more terrifying than screaming. Not quickly. Slowly. I'm going to take everything they have and burn it in front of them. Vanessa stood, crossed to him. Her legs felt stronger now, fueled by rage instead of weakness. Not just you. Dominic turned to face her, and the look in his eyes made her breath catch. It was dark, devoted, dangerous. You should rest, he said, but didn't move away. I'm done resting. Vanessa stepped closer, close enough to feel the heat radiating off him. They poisoned me, Dominic. They stole 4 years of my life, and Marcus let it happen. His hand came up, cupped her jaw with surprising gentleness. His thumb traced her cheekbone, and the touch sent electricity down her spine. Then we make them pay, he murmured. Every single one. Vanessa's pulse hammered. She nodded, and neither of them stepped back. 3 nights later, Dominic led Vanessa down a hallway she hadn't known existed. Behind a panel disguised as a bookshelf was a room bathed in blue light from multiple screens. His surveillance room. The heart of how he knew everything about everyone. I need to show you something, he said, his voice tight. But once you see it, there's no going back. Vanessa's skin prickled. Show me. He pulled up footage dated 4 days ago. The timestamp showed 3:15 a.m. The location made Vanessa's stomach drop. Her old loft. The master bedroom she'd been banished from. The angle suggested a camera hidden somewhere high. Probably in the smoke detector Marcus had insisted on installing himself. On screen, Mei Lin stood before the full-length mirror wearing a silk nightgown. Alone. Vanessa watched as Mei Lin's hands moved to her swollen belly, watched as she lifted the nightgown, watched as she peeled away a silicone prosthetic, setting it carefully on the dresser like shed skin. Vanessa's breath stopped. Mei Lin's stomach beneath was flat, toned, completely, utterly not pregnant. That's impossible, Vanessa whispered. She lives with him. Marcus would know, he would. Dominic tapped another screen. Audio waveforms appeared and he played a recording from 3 weeks ago. Mei Lin's voice, sugar-sweet and trembling. The doctor said it's high risk, Marcus. The baby's position is delicate. We can't be intimate. I need my own space. For the baby's sake. Then Marcus's voice, frustrated but resigned. Fine. I'll take the guest room, whatever you need. Vanessa's hand flew to her mouth. He destroyed our marriage for a woman who won't even let him touch her. He destroyed your marriage for a ghost. Dominic's voice was cold. She's not carrying his air. She's carrying a lie. The laughter came first. Sharp, bitter, edged with hysteria. Vanessa laughed until her shoulders shook, until the sound twisted into something raw and broken. Then the sobs came, tearing through her like a storm. Dominic caught her before she collapsed. His arms wrapped around her, solid and sure, and Vanessa buried her face against his chest. She felt his chin rest on top of her head, felt his hand move in slow circles against her back. He gave up everything for nothing, she choked out between sobs. 4 years of my body breaking, 8 years of my life for a fake pregnancy and a woman who's probably laughing at him. She's not just laughing, she's stealing. Dominic's voice rumbled against her ear. We traced her. Corporate spy. Marcus's competitor hired her 20 months ago to infiltrate his company and extract trade secrets. But she got greedy, decided to take the wife's place too. Vanessa pulled back enough to look at him. Her face was wet, her eyes swollen, but something fierce burned behind the tears. Who hired her? Victor Huang, tech rival in Silicon Valley. Dominic's thumb brushed away a tear from her cheek. The gesture so gentle it made her heart stutter. He's been bleeding Marcus dry for over a year. Does Marcus know? Not yet. Dominic's dark eyes held hers. That's your decision. When you want him to know, how you want him to suffer. Vanessa stared up at him. This dangerous man who'd become her sword, her shield, her unexpected sanctuary. His hand was still on her face, thumb tracing her jawline. The air between them had shifted from grief to something molten. Dominic, she whispered, and it sounded like a question she didn't know how to ask. He answered it anyway. His kiss was slow, deliberate, nothing like the rushed, perfunctory kisses she'd known with Marcus. Dominic kissed her like he was memorizing her, like she was something precious and dangerous all at once. His hand slid into her hair, angling her head, deepening the kiss until Vanessa's knees went weak. She gripped his shirt, pulled him closer, tasted whiskey and smoke on his tongue. This wasn't strategy, wasn't performance. This was real, raw, absolutely terrifying. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dominic rested his forehead against hers. "This complicates things," he murmured. "I know." Vanessa's hands were still fisted in his shirt. She should let go. Step back. Remember, this was supposed to be fake, but she didn't move. Vanessa. Her name on his lips sounded like a prayer and a curse. She pulled back just enough to meet his eyes. The grief was still there, but beneath it burned something colder, sharper. "Don't tell him yet," she said, her voice steady now. "Don't tell him about Mei Lin. Don't tell him about the spy. I want to take everything first. His company, his reputation, his dignity. I want him to lose it all while thinking he's won." Dominic's smile was slow and absolutely lethal. "You're terrifying." "Good." Vanessa's fingers loosened on his shirt, smoothed the wrinkles she'd created. "I'm tired of being underestimated. I've never underestimated you." His hand covered hers, pressed it flat against his chest where his heart beat steady and strong. "That's why you're dangerous." The cabin was 3 hours north of the city, hidden in the mountains where no one would think to look. Dominic brought Vanessa there on a night when snow fell in thick, silent curtains. Inside, a fire crackled in the stone fireplace, casting dancing shadows across walls lined with books and secrets. He poured her wine. She didn't drink it. She watched him instead. This man who'd become more than a weapon, more than an arrangement. "There's one more thing," Dominic said finally. He retrieved a folder from the safe, old and worn at the edges. When he set it on the table between them, Vanessa saw the hospital logo embossed on the cover. "I wasn't going to show you this. I thought maybe you'd suffered enough, but you deserve the complete truth." Vanessa opened the folder. Medical records dating back 17 years, Marcus's name at the top. She read slowly, her analytical mind processing the clinical language. Sports injury, testicular trauma, surgical intervention, prognosis, permanent sterility. The words blurred. Vanessa read them again, then again. "He's sterile," she whispered. "Has been since he was 19. Dominic's voice was quiet, "before he even met you." Vanessa's hands trembled. 4 years of needles. 4 years of failure. 4 years of him watching her break, watching her blame herself, knowing the entire time that he was the reason they couldn't conceive. Then she saw the note clipped to the back page. Handwritten, elegant script on expensive stationery. "Seal these records. Marcus must never know. His pride couldn't survive this truth. We'll find another solution to secure the Chen line. Perhaps a wife who brings her own fertility challenges." Perfect cover. It was signed by Marcus's father. Vanessa's breath came in short, sharp gasps. He didn't know. No, Dominic moved closer, sat beside her on the leather sofa. His father hid it from him. Let him believe he was capable. Let him destroy you for something that was never your fault, was never even his fault, just his father's manipulation. "He found me on purpose." Vanessa's voice was hollow. A bronze woman from a middle-class family. Easy to blame, easy to discard. He needed someone to take the fall for his son's sterility. And when you didn't leave quietly, he poisoned you to ensure you'd fail. Dominic's jaw was tight. Then pushed him toward Mei Lin to give him the heir he promised. Except Mei Lin's baby is as fake as everything else. Vanessa stood abruptly, the papers falling from her lap. She walked to the fireplace, pressed her palms against the warm stone. "I was never broken. No, he was." She turned to face Dominic, and something in her expression had shifted. The last vestiges of the woman who'd begged for Marcus's approval had burned away. He destroyed me for a lie his father told him, for a legacy that was never going to exist. Dominic rose, crossed to her with that predatory grace she'd come to recognize. "Vanessa." She kissed him. Not gentle this time, not hesitant. She kissed him with the full force of her rage and relief, and the desperate need to feel something real. Her hands slid up his chest into his hair, pulling him closer. Dominic made a sound low in his throat, his arms wrapping around her waist, lifting her until her toes barely touched the ground. "Are you sure?" he murmured against her lips, even as his hands trembled with restraint. "I'm reclaiming myself." Vanessa's dark eyes met his, fierce and certain. "I'm choosing this. Choosing you. Choosing to feel something that isn't pain." The Queen's reckoning. Dominic lifted her into his arms and moved toward the bedroom. The flickering flames cast dancing shadows across her skin, transforming her into something radiant and irreplaceable. When he placed her on the bed, the tenderness in his movements contrasted sharply with the raw desire burning in his gaze. His fingers brushed across her torso, where bruises still lingered from countless injections. "You were never damaged," he said softly, his touch reverent. "You've always been complete, extraordinary, magnificent." She drew him close, and their kiss felt like both an ending and a beginning. Dominic's careful attentiveness erased the memory of Marcus's presence entirely. Each caress seemed to rewrite the past. Every murmured word reconstructed what had been torn down. Hours blended together as the fire dimmed to embers. Somewhere between sorrow and recovery, between retribution and salvation, Vanessa rediscovered herself. Morning light filtered through the windows to find Vanessa nestled in bedsheets and Dominic's embrace. His breathing rhythmic against her shoulder. She gazed upward, her thoughts crystallizing with unprecedented clarity. "Dominic," she whispered. "Yes," his voice carried the roughness of sleep. "Destroy him completely." She shifted to face him, her eyes meeting his in the pale dawn. Her words came out measured and cold. "Marcus, his father, everyone who treated me as expendable, strip them of everything and leave only ruins." Dominic's expression transformed into something predatory and pleased. He cradled her face, his thumb tracing her lower lip. "Nothing would give me greater satisfaction." The executive conference room at Chen Industries embodied intimidation through design, all pristine glass and brushed metal 42 stories above Manhattan's sprawl. Marcus had personally convened the emergency session, distributing his agenda to every board member. The removal of Vanessa Torres Chen from all company equity and shares. He believed he was orchestrating an execution. He failed to recognize he was attending his own. Vanessa entered alongside Dominic, and the assembled executives visibly tensed. Her black suit was severe and knife-sharp. Her styled hair and immaculate makeup were complemented by an enormous engagement ring that gleamed like a declaration. Marcus occupied the head position, Mei Lin seated nearby in maternity, where that showcased her prosthetic belly like a prize. His father sat to his right, radiating cold authority. "Vanessa," Marcus's tone dripped with manufactured concern, "I appreciate your attendance. This process will proceed more smoothly if you accept it with dignity." Vanessa smiled and set her briefcase down deliberately. "I wouldn't dream of missing this." Marcus opened proceedings with rehearsed confidence. "Everyone here knows my wife and I have been living separately. Given her failure to fulfill the Chen family's expectations and her recent involvement with individuals of questionable character, I'm requesting the board terminate her shareholdings. This becomes especially important as I'm about to become a father." His hand rested on Mei Lin's belly. She responded with a demure smile, performing her role flawlessly. "How moving, Marcus." Vanessa's voice remained smooth and hard. "Before any votes occur, I have several items to share, merely administrative matters." She extracted a folder from her briefcase. "First, let's examine certain financial irregularities I discovered. Someone has been siphoning company resources over the past 20 months. Initially small amounts, escalating significantly, totaling approximately $4 million. Marcus's composure cracked slightly. "That's ridiculous. Our accounting is beyond reproach." "I know, I created the system." Vanessa displayed a spreadsheet on the screen. "The transfers are cleverly concealed, channeled through various shell entities, but they ultimately converge at one destination: Mei Lin's offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands." Chaos erupted. Mei Lin's smile evaporated. "That's fabricated," Marcus protested, but uncertainty colored his voice. "Mei Lin couldn't." "Couldn't she?" Vanessa advanced to the next slide. "Let's discuss other things Mei Lin couldn't do, such as actually carrying a child." The screen illuminated with surveillance footage showing Mei Lin alone in the bedroom, removing her silicone belly prosthetic. The timestamp indicated 3 nights prior. The board members reacted with audible shock. Marcus stared, his complexion draining. "That's impossible," he breathed. I've accompanied her to medical appointments. I felt movement." "Silicone prosthetics achieve remarkable authenticity," Vanessa explained calmly. "Particularly when the expectant father is kept physically distant. High-risk pregnancy protocols, no physical intimacy, separate sleeping arrangements. She manipulated you, Marcus. The child you sacrificed our marriage for is fictional." Marcus wheeled toward Maylin, his expression fragmenting. Deny this. Tell everyone this is false. Maylin rose, one hand protectively covering her false belly. Then, recognizing the futility of resistance, she bolted. Her footsteps echoed frantically as she fled the conference room. Dominic's security personnel stationed at the exit intercepted her before she reached the elevators. Marcus's hands trembled. His father had gone ashen. But the true tragedy, Vanessa continued, her voice dropping, is that even had Mei Lin actually been pregnant, the child wouldn't have been yours. What are you suggesting? Vanessa produced the final document, aged medical records. You're sterile, Marcus. You have been since age 19. A sports-related injury caused permanent testicular damage. Marcus's eyes widened in disbelief. No, that can't. I would have known. I'd remember. Your father ensured you wouldn't. Vanessa's gaze shifted toward the older man, whose face had become granite. He suppressed the records, concealed the truth because your ego couldn't survive it, so he engineered an alternative solution. He selected me. The statement hung in the air like a death sentence. He chose someone he could blame, a bronze-skinned woman from humble origins who could be easily discarded. He poisoned me with so-called fertility supplements that were actually contraceptives. He convinced you I was defective. Convinced me as well. For 4 years, I blamed myself, endured thousands of injections, ravaged my body. While you, her voice wavered momentarily, were the one incapable of fathering children. Marcus looked at his father. Tell her this is lies. His father remained silent. Tell me, Marcus's voice escalated to a shout. Nothing. The truth crashed over Marcus like a collapsing building. His face contorted through disbelief, fury, and devastation. He seized a letter opener from the table and lunged toward Vanessa with an inhuman sound. Dominic moved with supernatural speed. He intercepted Marcus's wrist mid-thrust, twisted it, and the weapon clattered harmlessly. Marcus gasped as Dominic controlled him with frightening efficiency, forcing him face down against the glass surface. You exchanged a queen for an illusion, Dominic said quietly, his voice glacial. Now you possess nothing. Police sirens wailed from below. Officers were already entering the building, responding to the embezzlement evidence Vanessa had filed an hour before the meeting began. Vanessa collected her materials. As she passed Marcus's broken form, she paused. You desired a legacy, Marcus. Congratulations. You'll be remembered, just not as you imagined. 7 months later, Vanessa reviewed acquisition contracts in her corner office overlooking Central Park. Torres Financial Consulting had become the premier firm for Fortune 500 companies. She'd constructed her empire from the remnants of her previous life, and the result was magnificent. The divorce had concluded swiftly. Marcus's attorneys couldn't mount a defense while he faced federal fraud prosecution. His father had fled to Taiwan, his reputation destroyed. Mei Lin was serving 24 months for embezzlement and corporate espionage. Vanessa possessed everything she'd previously been denied. Success, autonomy, dignity, Dominic. They divided their time between his penthouse and a Mediterranean villa that felt otherworldly. He'd completed his real estate transaction with Vanessa beside him, legitimizing his family's assets. But somewhere during that journey, their arrangement had transcended pretense. They'd become true partners, equals, lovers who consciously chose each other daily. Then the nausea began. Vanessa woke one morning in their villa, sunlight streaming through gauzy curtains, and barely reached the bathroom in time. Dominic found her there, pale and shaking, his face tightening with alarm. It's the poison, she whispered. It's still affecting me. What if? We're going to the hospital, immediately. The helicopter journey felt interminable. Dominic held her hand throughout, his thumb moving in soothing circles. She could sense the tension radiating from him, the carefully suppressed terror that something might steal her away. At the private medical facility, Dr. Harrison conducted comprehensive testing. Blood analysis, ultrasounds, toxicology panels. Vanessa reclined on the examination table, Dominic stationed beside her, maintaining constant physical contact. When Dr. Harrison returned, she was smiling. The poison has been completely eliminated from your system. Has been for months. You're not ill, Miss Torres. Vanessa's breath caught. Then what's wrong? You're 9 weeks pregnant. Time suspended. Vanessa stared at the physician, unable to comprehend the statement. Pregnant, after everything. After being told she was broken. After 4 years of futility. She turned to Dominic, and what she witnessed on his face undid her. His eyes glistened. This man who commanded universal fear. Who could dismantle corporations with a phone call. Who navigated the world like royalty. He was crying. Dominic, she whispered. He dropped to his knees beside the table, his forehead pressing against her abdomen. His shoulders trembled. Vanessa's hands moved to his hair, cradling him as he wept. I thought this would never happen, he said, his voice fracturing. Never have a family of my own. Dr. Harrison discreetly departed, granting them privacy. Vanessa lifted Dominic's face, cupping it between her palms. We're having a baby. We're having a baby. He repeated it like a sacred incantation, like an undeserved miracle. Then he kissed her, tender and reverent, tasting of salt and happiness. His hands spread across her stomach, spanning the flat surface where life was developing. His fingers found the faded scars from the fertility treatments, those small marks that had once symbolized failure. He kissed each one, his lips gentle against her bronze skin. These scars, he murmured, they didn't mark your ending. They were the path that brought you to me. Vanessa's tears came then, hot and cathartic. I love you. I love you. Dominic stood, enfolding her in his arms. You're my empire, Vanessa. Everything else is just property. Later, ensconced in their hotel suite overlooking the water, Vanessa thought about Marcus. He was in federal custody, awaiting trial. His company had been dissolved. His father had abandoned him for self-preservation. Mei Lin had given a prison interview, revealing she'd never harbored genuine feelings for him, that he'd been merely a target from the start. Marcus had pursued an open marriage to secure happiness and legacy. He'd concluded in a cell with nothing but the specter of his own hubris. Vanessa, who'd been discarded like refuse, had discovered freedom in the most improbable place. In the embrace of a man the world deemed dangerous. Alongside someone who recognized her brilliance and honored it. In the security of being chosen, treasured, elevated. She pressed her hand to her stomach where their child grew. The baby Marcus's father had tried to prevent. The family Vanessa thought impossible. Dominic's arm tightened around her waist, drawing her against his chest. What's on your mind? That I've never felt safer than I do with you. He kissed her temple. You were always protected with me. From the moment you collided with me at the Onyx Room, you became mine to safeguard. And avenge. His smile against her skin turned wicked. Though I believe you handled most of the vengeance yourself, I merely provided the platform. Vanessa laughed, the sound light and liberated. 7 months ago, she'd believed her life had ended. Now she understood it was merely beginning. Marcus had traded a queen for nothing, and Vanessa had claimed her throne. If this story left scars instead of closure, don't just sit with it. Hit like and follow Afro-Korean Tailies Hub. Tell me in the comments which betrayal shattered you most. The poisoned cup, the staged pregnancy, or the truth Marcus never saw coming. And if twisted love stories where payback cuts deeper than mercy are your weakness, you already know this is home. Until we meet again, remember this. Dismiss the wrong woman and she won't cry. She'll rise and take everything from you.